Alright guys, welcome back to another one of my videos, and today's video is all about doing my top 10 games in the Oculus Quest 2 that are either heavily not really talked about or never really usually on lists, but are still really great games. The idea of this list is because every time we see lists out there of like, hey, top 10 favorite games on the Quest platform and all that kind of stuff, especially now that we're going to be getting the Quest 3, we always see the same games. We always see Beat Saber sitting on the top of the list, me included, because I love Beat Saber. We see those Beat Saber all the time. We know about that game and we see that gameplay and stuff, but we see a lot of the same games out there all the time. And I thought a list like this, instead of seeing Population 1 again all the time, we would see other games that are still really great on the Quest or Quest platform that are maybe not getting the recognition that they deserve because we keep seeing the same games on the same list over and over again. So this is what that list is for, to help you guys discover 10 new games that maybe you have not heard of before, had the kind of flown under the radar and stuff like that, especially with the Quest 3 coming here soon, that we're all super excited about. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech, going for a brekkie is the gaming tech, gaming tech is the gaming tech, gaming techie.
So coming in at number 10 here is Cookout, a Sandwich Tale. So if you guys are familiar with games like Overcooked and stuff like that, that are in the 2D space and on flat screen games, this is that game in VR. And even though this game has been out for a long time, it's still a fantastic game to play with 3 of your other friends. You're sitting there, you're going crazy, you're yelling across the table, hey, I need the cheese, I need the ham, I need the hamburger meat, I need this, I need that, and you're working together to fulfill all these customer orders. The graphics are fantastic in this game, really colorful and nice to look at. Really fun to game to play with friends. I actually sold a few Oculus Quest headsets back when this game came out, when I introduced a few friends to it. That's how much fun this game is. They were also fans of Overcooked, and they just loved this game in VR and how much fun it was. And yeah, this is definitely one to check out if you have not checked this out already. This is a fantastic one to play with your friends. Coming in at number 10. The next one here coming in at number 9 is Loco Dojo Unleashed. Loco Dojo Unleashed, if you think about like a Mario Party board game type thing, that's kind of what this is. You're going around the board and stuff like that, and you're playing mini games. It's up to 4 of your friends that you can play with. You can also play against AI if you want to. There are 16 different mini games in here that you can play in VR, and you're going through the board and, you know, playing these different mini games, doing these different things to try and be, you know, the ultimate victor at the end of the game. If you guys like Mario Party type mini games and stuff like this in a board game format like that, this is definitely the game for you. I think it's a ton of fun. There's not a lot of games like this that give you the Mario Party type feel in VR, and this one is done super well. This was a original game that used to be Loco Dojo on the PC. They brought it over to the Quest platform with new mini games and stuff, and most of the mini games here are a ton of fun to play. So check this one out, guys, if you're into games like this. Coming in at number 9, it is Loco Dojo Unleashed. The next one here coming in at number 8 is Wands Alliances. Wands Alliances is a 3v3 shooter, but what makes this game interesting and is not like anything else you've played is that you kind of feel like you're Harry Potter in VR, where you're basically using wands and stuff like that. They did have a game before this one that came out that used to be a 1v1 dueling game called Wands, and this one, Wands Alliances, has now upgraded it to be 3v3. They have a good variety of maps in the game, in my opinion, and even more so, the actual spells that you can cast. You can upgrade your wand with all these different spells that they take with you and use all of these different combinations depending on what you want on your wands. It's really fun. Again, really unique. There's not a lot of games that you're spell casting and by shooting your enemies and stuff like that and doing all these different spells on enemies and trying to be, you know, the team that's victorious. It's really cool. I think it's a ton of fun, and it's definitely a great evolution of the original game. You will be playing this game a long time if you want to keep upgrading and unlocking the different spells. There's a lot of different spells in the game to mess with. That is Wands Alliances, coming in at number 8. The next one here coming in at number 7 is Drop Dead the Cabin. This is one that recently came out a few months ago, but I still don't feel like a lot of people talk about this one. This is from the makers of Drop Dead, as you see here, and this is basically your Call of Duty zombie games in VR, but it's done super well. You're just like you would in zombies. You know, you're in a house, you're playing with your friends, and you're trying to keep the zombies out and trying to kill all of them and go through level and you know, survive basically, and you're upgrading your weapons, and you know, it's just a fantastic game. It's done super well. They keep adding new different zombie types. They keep adding, you know, different variety on the maps and stuff like that. There's a lot of gameplay here, and it's a ton of fun. Again, it's a really unique game because it does that genre of, you know, zombies in VR, like Call of Duty Zombies, super well, and it's a fantastic time, especially if you play with friends. Just like Call of Duty Zombies was, this game in VR is just as much fun to play with your friends, and it's definitely one I recommend to check out. That is Drop Dead the Cabin, coming in at number 7. The next one here coming in at number 6 is definitely a game I never hear too much about, and that is Survival Nation. This is another one that's really unique. You are basically in a survival game. It's a giant open world. You basically have to make sure you stay healthy, that you eat food so you don't die of starvation and all that stuff, collecting all these items and stuff. And it's a gigantic open world where you meet people, you're doing all these crazy things, and you're basically just trying to survive in this open world like you would any other game. And there's a ton of different missions that you can do and collect. There's a ton of different things that you can do in this game. I don't think there's anything like this on the Quest platform besides this game, where you're in a gigantic open world and it's a survival game and you see a bunch of players, you're doing all these different missions and stuff. Really, really unique, really, really polished from what I've played, and there's just a ton of stuff to do in this game. If you're into survival games like this, where you're out there hunting and getting food and doing all these different missions and stuff, seeing other people and talking to them and bounding together and stuff like that, this is definitely one I recommend. That's Survival Nation coming in at number 6. The next one here coming in at number 5 is No More Rainbow. So this is a platformer in VR where you're basically running around trying to complete the platform as fast as possible. They have a lot of variety of courses in the game that you're playing through. They've added updates to the game already where now there's cooperative races where you're basically trying to be the fastest person through the actual course, which is fantastic to play with other players online. There's also, just playing multiplayer in general, where you're not playing cooperatively, but you're actually playing against each other. And these levels are just insane. As you guys are seeing here by the gameplay here, it's a really unique art style, really unique gameplay, but it is a ton of fun. And the courses definitely do get challenging, and it's super fun, super addicting when you're playing multiplayer battles against your friends. There's a bunch of mini games that you can play as well with your friends. A lot of good stuff that you can play in this game, and this game should definitely be more popular. The mini games are fantastic. The stuff that you're doing, the climbing and running around through the levels and playing cooperatively races are so much fun. Really, really unique game. No More Rainbows coming in at number 5. The next one here coming in at number 4 is Inverse. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably huge fans of games like Dead by Daylight on the 2D flat screen game, and this is that game brought into VR, where you're basically 4v1 and you can either play cooperatively to destroy all the monsters in the game and stuff like that with your friends, or you can obviously be the monster on the other side where you're trying to, kill everyone else on the other side, a la, like I said, Dead by Daylight. The map is really cool, what you're doing in the game is really cool, the graphics are fantastic, and a lot of people actually like this VR version better than Dead by Daylight, to be honest. That's what some of the reviews are like. There's a lot of good content in this game, a lot of unique ideas, and a game that's not really been done in VR before. Another game that is not getting too much attention, in my opinion, because it did come out a short while ago. It hasn't been out for that long, but usually when games come out, they get a lot of hype and stuff like that, and this is not one I've seen a lot of people talk about, and it's really a unique space in VR, with it being that 4:1 symmetrical gameplay in VR, and it's really, really good. If you're into games like this, if you're into games like Dead by Daylight, definitely check this one out. Inverse coming in at number 4. The next one here coming in at number 3 is a game called Bounce Shot, which is a relatively new game, but it came out maybe a month or 2 months ago. But again, this is a game that when it came out, nobody talked about. There's barely any reviews on the store or anything like that, and I wanted to check it out because the premise was cool. You guys are obviously familiar with things like beer pong and stuff like that. Well, this is that game brought into VR that you can play either 1v1 or 2v2, and it's a lot more fun than you think. I think the physics are fantastic. I was playing this game online with somebody yesterday, and it's so much fun to be able to bounce the ball or shoot the ball in cups, and everything you can do in the game in real life. You can do the bounce shots, you can throw singlers, you can re-rack, all that kind of stuff. You can play 1v1 against the computer, or you can play 2v2 with players around the world. They have 3 unique environments. They have a tournament place that you can play in, or you can play in an arcade where everything is decorated and really cool. They have a couple of mini games in the arcade as well that you can play. I think the game is a ton of fun. It's a really addictive game, a great multiplayer game to play with friends that is definitely not getting enough attention out there. You think it's a simple premise game, but it's one of those games that once you play it starts getting addicting. I was playing with a guy yesterday, and I was like, we're just going to play 1 or 2 games because then I got to go. We ended up playing 4 or 5 games because the game is that addicting. I had to force myself to get away from this one. This is one of those games that simple by nature, but is done super well and super addicting to play with players online. Needs more attention, guys. Check this one out. This is Bounce Shot coming in at number 3. The next one here coming in at number 2 is Mash Me Up. So this is one that is probably compared to like WarriorWare and stuff like that, where you're playing those fast-paced mini games against somebody else to try to, win the mini game and stuff like that. This is kind of like that game. There's a bunch of different mini games that are thrown at you, and you're trying to be the last one. As you can see here, they have a bunch of different ones. They have trivia, they have charades, they have sketching, like this one is. A bunch of different mini games to play, and I hope they keep adding to this game to add even more mini games, because it's really fun to play against other people and play this game. I love mini games like this that are fast-paced mini games, to be the last one to win these games. And it's definitely another one that kind of sits out there uniquely because the fast-paced nature of it, the fact that it feels like WarioWare in VR with those micro mini games and stuff like that is really fun. Definitely one that went under the radar, in my opinion, to a lot of people when it came out a long time ago, and that is Mash Me Up, coming in at number 2. And the last one here coming in at number 1 is Cards and Tank Cards. And this is a really unique game because there's, again, nothing else like it in VR. And basically, it is a card dueling game. If you guys are really good fans of like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and all that kind of stuff, where you're basically building a deck, taking the deck that you build and collecting the cards and stuff like that, and then battling people online or AI and stuff, this is the game for you. You're building a deck, you're collecting these cards and stuff like that, building the best deck possible, and then competing against other players, trying to take their deck out. It's everything you would love about those deck building games like Pokemon and stuff like that, Magic the Gathering, and brought into VR in a really cool space, a really cool area like you're seeing here, where you're playing against other people. Other people can cheer you on and watch you play and stuff like that. You're using these miniatures and stuff like that that represent, you know, the miniatures that you're playing, and using these cards to get their abilities and take out your opponent. It's a really good game if you're into games like this. One that I highly recommend that a lot of people usually don't talk about, and that is Cards and Deck Cards, coming in at number 1. And that's it, guys. That is it for this list. I hope you guys enjoyed this list to get a really unique taste of 10 great games on the Quest platform that maybe a lot of people aren't always talking about, that don't show up on a lot of lists. Thank you guys for watching. Till next time.